What's up YouTube? How are you doing today? I'm Chana D, your Techno Dad, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing the Pioneer UDP-LX500, and we're going to get into it right after the jump. And I'm back. Now if you're new to the channel, my name is Chana. I've been into home theater since the mid-90s. I think I calculated like 25 years I've been really into this, and that's when I started my first system back when I was like in high school. Anyway, I'm really loving these new formats like Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, and especially the new 4K with HDR, Dolby Vision, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to learn about all these things, definitely subscribe to the channel. Alright everyone, so it's been 3 months since I purchased the Pioneer UDP-LX500. I did buy it for $9.99 from apt.com. That was the only place selling it at the time, and I believe Amazon has it now. So if you're interested in it, check out the link down in the description. Now in these past 3 months I've had it in the rack and I've pretty much played everything I could on this player. Now if you're wondering if I have a lot of experience with 4K players, these are just the 4K players I bought in the last 2 years. Still going. That's quite a list. So coming in at $1,000, I would definitely rate this as a premium 4K UHD player, and you definitely get that feel from build quality to performance and everything in between. So let's kind of break things down for you guys with build quality. Let's start there. Coming in at a whopping 22 pounds, this thing is heavy. It is built like a tank and it will last the test of time. For sure, if you're looking for a 4K Blu-ray player that's not going anywhere and it's just seated there, it's literally not going anywhere, definitely want to check this one out. So inside it's got a 3-block internal layout. It separates the power supply, the digital processing, and the analog audio to eliminate any kind of interference that may occur when you're playing content. It also has a 1.3mm base chassis and a 3mm steel plate at the bottom. And what this does is it increases rigidity, and it also gives the player a lower center of gravity. And you can tell this thing's quality, man. You press the open button and it takes a second. You gotta give it a second. Be patient with it. And the CD tray opens up and closes like very smoothly, very quality, very like high-end. You know, you think a high-end player should act? That's how this is. Let's move on now to performance. Pretty much any 4K UHD disc is gonna look fantastic. Okay, as far as HDR, it supports HDR10, Dolby Vision, and I read it supports HDR10 Plus, but there are no HDR10 Plus discs to test it out. And of course, I'd have to buy a different TV like a Samsung or something like that that has HDR10 Plus. So can't test that part out, but it says it supports it, so it's a good thing, right? Now, as far as discs that aren't 4K, the upscaling was very good on this, and the 1080p discs that I tossed in looked great. Standard Blu-rays look great, and I also checked out a bunch of audio. If you guys are wondering, I have the Pink Floyd SACD mixed in 5.1, and that is just insane. If you guys don't have it, you should definitely check it out. I think it's just a phenomenal player, both in video and audio, so performance-wise, this thing's good to go. Alright, let's move on to ease of use. For the most part, it's pretty easy to use. However, there are some little quirks, like with the Oppo and the Cambridge and the other players that I have in-house. When I'm playing a piece of content and I want to just go to the home menu or the top menu, I press those buttons and the player goes there. On this one, I actually have to stop whatever I'm playing and then press the home button or the menu button to get into that. So whatever content you're playing, whether it's a 4K disc, a 1080p disc, or you're watching a movie on USB, you have to stop it and then press the button. Kind of like a little annoyance, quirk kind of thing. I didn't really like that, so it's not as easy to use as the others, but you know, I'm just splitting hairs here. Now speaking of file playback, I know a lot of you guys are going to ask me, hey, does this player play MKVs that have Atmos and HDR? And from what I've understood and what I've experienced, the answer to that is no. Now, I don't know what files you guys are using, but I've finally found a way to rip my purchased 4K UHD discs onto a external drive so that I can have like a little jukebox on a 4 terabyte drive, you know, just plug it in and you got all the movies there. It's fantastic. 4K, HDR, and Dolby Atmos or DTSX, whichever one. It all works, but that was with me like ripping them, and that file format is M2TS. So M2TS definitely works, 4K, HDR, and whatever, Atmos or DTSX. Now, the one thing is, if the disc is Dolby Vision, it will not rip into Dolby Vision, it'll just rip into standard HDR10. If that's cool with you, then cool. Now, if you guys want me to make a video about how to rip those and what kind of equipment and software you need, let me know down in the comments below. All right, let's get into the cons. So one of the big cons for a lot of you, which I actually don't think is a con, is that there are no streaming apps on this player. No streaming apps at all. I don't really think it's a con, but I know a lot of you guys have expressed that it sucks that it costs so much and doesn't have streaming apps. But in, you know, thinking about it, you're playing $1,000 for 4K player, not for like some crappy apps that you already have. You know what I mean? Like, the apps are super redundant right now. So it is a con, but I don't think it's really a con. I think it's more of a feature. But hey, let's just put it in the con section. The other con is the user interface. This thing is old and uninspired. It looks like it's from the 90s, and I think some of you commented that it is like from one of their old players. Like, come on, Pioneer, get it together. The last con, of course, is price. The thing costs $1,000. I think it lists for actually $1,100, like $1,099, but everywhere it's like $1,000, and there are, you know, options under, you know, $500 or at $500. But, you know, it's up to you. You know, do you want that premium experience? That's kind of what this, you know, 4K Blu-ray player is all about. All right, speaking of competitors, I'm just gonna show you what this LX500 looks like against 4 others. Now, the 4 others we're talking about, of course, we're gonna be using the Oppo 203, the Panasonic UB820, the LG UBK90, and the Sony X700. So here we can get a good idea of what size this player is and like what you're actually playing for. And of course, I'm gonna line up the remotes for you as well. So let's get into that. So the biggest competitor to the LX500 is the Panasonic UB9000, which also comes in at $999. Now, I did not purchase this yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but the biggest issue that I have with the UB9000 is that it does not play SACDs and it does not play DVD audio discs. So if you're an audiophile and you really want like a high quality DAC, you won't get like multiple disc support on the UB9000, and that's kind of like the big thing for me, like between the two. I mean, it's almost like if they took the Oppo UDP-205, cut it in half and made 2 separate players, one would be the Pioneer and one would be the Panasonic. Mainly because the Pioneer can play all the discs just like the Oppo can. However, the Panasonic has the dual balanced stereo output, and it has a 7.1 analog output for movies. So it's got a dual DACs, just like the Oppo UDP-205. Now, the one thing about the Oppo 205 is it still has the best dual 8-channel DACs in there. It's the ESS Saber 9038 Pro DAC, and that thing's insane. It's got 140 dB of dynamic range, which is nuts. It's nuts. So if you are an audiophile and you're looking for a new 4K player, something that rivals the Oppo UDP-205, you kind of have to choose between the Pioneer and the Panasonic. If you have a large SACD or DVD audio collection, then you would, you know, pivot toward the Pioneer. If you don't, and if those are things that you're not going to want, then you know the Panasonic is more for you. So that's kind of like the situation between the Panasonic and the Pioneer. You know, which one's gonna work better for you? That you have to decide. I'm just here to tell you what's up. Okay, last but not least, who is this for? Is this player for you? If you are looking for a premium 4K UHD player and premium 4K experience, definitely check out the Pioneer LX500. If you're thinking that you wanted to spend in the $500 range and you just want to see what's, you know, what twice the price or twice the money can get you, it's not going to be a huge jump in quality if you're only playing 4K UHD discs. If you're playing a lot of music and you have a nice music system, 2-channel listening system, you might want to check out the Pioneer. Other than that, you know, the Panasonic UB820 is a great option for most of you out there, and it's the one that I recommend to everyone now that Oppo 203 is pretty much gone. Unless you want to pay like those exorbitant prices for the used market. Now, I might make a couple of comparison videos still with the Pioneer LX500, but I'm getting ready to pretty much sell it. So if you want to know when I'm selling it, definitely follow me up on Twitter and Facebook. That's where I post all the equipment sales that I have going on. So definitely do that. Well, that's pretty much it for my 3-month review of the Pioneer LX500. It's a fantastic player, giving you a premium experience. And pretty much it'll play everything you throw at it, except for those MKV files with Atmos and HDR. Won't play those. Not sure how you're encoding it, but the way it came off at a 1-to-1 rip didn't work. But the M2TS files work just fine. That's pretty much it, guys. So if you liked the video, go ahead, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel using the button in the middle of your screen. Once again, my name is Chana D. I am your Techno Dad, and I'll see you next time.